Hello, it is I. It is I. It is almost bedtime. As y'all see, I'm kind of tired, but never too tired for you. Never too tired for you. I wanted to pick up from where I left off yesterday. Yesterday, I talked about perception. Actually, I went live. Did y'all check out the video? Did y'all check out the video? I went live. Yeah. Deep conversations with Chenda, from being kept to being kept. I can't believe that it has been it's been a while. It's been a while since I released this book. It's been, let's see, when did I release this book? I wrote it in 2016, and the first print was in 2017. And then in 2019, I added questions to the back of the book. So anyway, y'all doing good? Are y'all ready? I'm drinking some coffee. No, this is not coffee. This is tea. Here, just letting you know how tired I am. I'm up here telling you I'm drinking coffee, and it's tea. It's actually a pumpkin spice tea. Do any of y'all put cream in your tea? I put a French vanilla inside of it. It's good. It's good. Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about rejection. I am on chapter 4. If you don't have my book, go order the book. You can get this book for $4.95 throughout the end of this month. Actually, you're getting the book for free, and you're only paying for shipping, $4.95. You can visit my website. It is www.richenda.com. Richenda is ROCHINDA.com. We are on rejection. Oh, man. Rejection is something else. Rejection is something else. Now, I'm pretty sure many of you have experienced rejection. I can tell you right now, I have, more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna experience rejection again in my life. I'm just going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, okay? Is that all right with you? Okay. Let me see. Where do I want to read? I'm not reading the whole entire book, because you got to get the book. It's nothing like having a book in your hand, having your own copy. Okay. Rejection. Let me start here. Rejection. One rainy fall afternoon, my sister and I were sitting on the front porch. We saw a man go over to our neighbor's house. This man resembled our father, but we couldn't get a clear view as he walked between the trees. Yeah. I'm just going to pause a little bit, because I remember that day. I remember that day so vividly. My sister and I was laying on the front porch, and the way our porch was, and well, the way our houses were back in the day, they was really close. They was really, you can jump over to the next porch. The only thing that was blocking it was the driveway. And back in the day, those driveways was kind of narrow. So our front porch was screened in, was enclosed. So we could kind of be peeking over without anyone even seeing us. And so anyway, I remember that day, and I remember us looking, and we're like, is that our father going next door? We really, trying to figure it out. Trees was in the way and all of that stuff. But anyway, let me tell you what happened. So this man, he walked like our dad, and the car looked exactly like our father. We tried to peek through the screened-in porch without being noticed, but the view was distorted. With the houses sitting so closely in proximity, we could see the shadow of our neighbors scurrying to the door to let the gentleman caller in, and we could no longer see the view. All we heard was the squeaky voice of the woman saying, "I miss you, and I've been waiting." Yeah, that squeaky voice, I remember the voice really clear because she had a very, very soft voice. And it was squeaky, but it was very distinctive. The door closed behind them, and we convinced ourselves it wasn't him and continued doing whatever mischief we were into at that given time. There was no way he would visit the single lady next door who had everything, including her own child, and not pay us a visit. Of course not. Our father had other children by a previous marriage and another relationship. If my count is accurate, Dad had a total of 12 children. 2 were stepchildren, and our neighbor's child wasn't one of them. 2 of the children came along while he was married to my mom, but we didn't find that out until years later. It was strange to see my mom and dad interact. Sometimes he appeared to be flirting with mom even while she fussed at him about what we needed. Carlotta and I would have our ear up against the vent listening to their conversations. Most of the time, the conversation was so muffled, we couldn't always make out what was being said. Once I heard him say, "You will always be my wife." Although mom was separated, she was still married to our father. If dad felt that mom would always be his wife, why didn't he choose to be a better husband and father? A few weeks passed, and we eventually made friends with our wonderful neighbor, only to discover our father was indeed hanging out next door. I was completely crushed inside, but we thought perhaps we would get to see him more since he was hanging out over there. Yeah, rejection. That right there, for me, and I'm sure for my sisters, that was really a blow. That was really a blow. And a young girl, her first love is her mom and her dad. And I was raised by a single mom, and my dad, he didn't raise us. He didn't raise us. We knew who he was, but my mother was the force. She was the force behind everything. A lot of things that I experienced in life was trial and error. A lot of things that I gravitated to the different strongholds was based on the things that I saw on the outside that I thought was okay. So if you think back to the conversation my sister and I was having, we were wondering if that was our father going next door. Keep in mind, my dad was still married to my mother. So our minds was being warped anyway, because that ain't supposed to be happening. But anyway, this story, from being kept to being kept, is very, very freeing. Very, very freeing. It allowed me to revisit my past. It allowed me to release a bunch of strongholds, things that I didn't even know was holding me down. It allowed me to do a lot of forgiving, a lot of conversation. I asked a lot of questions. So that portion that I read to you, that was the beginning part of rejection for me. The question I'm going to ask you: can rejection cause self-doubt? Absolutely. Rejection is a form of not being accepted. The rejection experience can cause you to gravitate to the wrong strongholds when you are dealing with unworthiness. See, at that moment, because I was so young, I can't say I was feeling unworthy. As I started getting older, things started to magnify. Things started to really, really showing up in my life, where I started acting out in different ways. I started doing things because I felt like, well, you know what? If I do this, I won't get rejected. If I act a certain way, I won't be rejected. If I smiled the right way, I would get the attention that I needed. If I dressed a certain way, I would attract what I wanted. The list goes on and on and on. So I want you to ask yourself, what part of rejection in your life has held you down, has blocked your blessings? And what I want you to do is journal it, write it down, and think about it. And then I want you to do a little bit more digging. Ask more questions, because really, when we are rejected by people, it's not anything that we've done. It's not anything that we have done. It's something that they're dealing with. And a lot of times we take rejection as is something wrong with us. As a young child, there was nothing wrong with me. That was my father. His rejection for us had nothing to do with us. It had a whole lot to do with him fulfilling his needs of what he wanted as a man. Had nothing to do with us. So anyhow, this is my deep dive on rejection. There's so much more. I just can't read the whole thing to you because I want you to get the book. And then we can discuss it more deeper. So, oh, here, let me read one more thing and then I'm gonna let you go. Here's another little section. Everyone felt the hurt and rejection that was placed on us, but we went about life like nothing had happened. Holding everything in as though we had a healthy, happy family. Don't misunderstand. I was physically healthy and a happy child, but there was an emotional disconnect and a deep loss that needed to be found. I remember always watching the cars in the neighborhood in hopes to see my dad's station wagon pass by. Sometimes thinking maybe he would stop and visit his girlfriend today and just maybe I would catch a glimpse of him. Our neighbors had no idea what they were doing to innocent children that had been watching. I've always told my children that you never know who is watching you. You can either help the situation or make it worse. Which do you choose? The choices you make now will later impact someone's life, good or bad. My dad and his girlfriend had no idea what we thought, and they probably didn't care at the time. I remember some of their conversations clearly because of the closeness of our houses, the loud music being played while they entertained each other as I listened from afar. Although she looked completely happy and wanted for nothing, she may have been dealing with rejection herself. What other possible reason would you date a married man? I can come up with several. Insecure, lack of self-esteem, and totally lost. It didn't matter if he was separated, he was still married to my mom. Anyway, thank you all for listening. This is your girl, Richenda, doing just a deep dive conversation from being kept to being kept. Have a good night. I'm getting ready to get myself ready for bed. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.